We all know about the stories in the Old Testament, but do you know all the stories in them? Only some stories in the Old Testament contain mild information and details. Some contain really harsh and disturbing subjects. Well, I'm sure that the story we are going to discuss today will leave you completely speechless. Before we start, I want to say that this video contains some content that might not be appropriate for minors. If you are a person who has some kind of trauma, this video might trigger that. So kindly watch it responsibly. If you are as curious as me to hear this story and know more about it, watch till the end. Let us dive in without any further do's. The story that we are going to discuss today is contained in chapters 19 to 21 of the Book of Judges. Some of you might be aware of the story in chapter 19. But have you read the full story? Only a person with a brave heart would be able to read the full story. Even though this story is highly disturbing, this contains a great lesson that everyone needs to learn and understand. To understand the lessons, you will first need to hear the story. In chapter 19, verse 1, it is saying about a time when no kings were ruling Israel. During that time, in a remote part of the country, a Levite lived. That man acquired a woman who was from Bethlehem to live with him without marrying him. After that, we can understand that she was not faithful to him, and she left her. She went to her father's home, and she spent the next 4 months there. In short, we can say that the Levite was betrayed by his partner. But he did not sit back and watch all this happen. He decided to get his wife back, and he traveled all the way from the north of the county to Bethlehem, which is in the south. He was very much desperate to be with his partner again. When she reached there, to his surprise, her father was really friendly and generous to him. Whenever he asks him to give his wife back, the father always compels him to stay another day with them. This went on for a few other days, and the man finally lost his patience, and he said firmly that he wanted to return to his home back with his wife. After this, the father understands the man and lets his daughter go with him. But none of them thought that they would face a tragedy while returning to their home. The day was about to end when they reached near Gibeah. Seeing that at nighttime, the servants asked their master to please stop in that city for taking rest and to sleep. But the master was not ready to sleep and stay in a place where there were no Israelites. The master asked them to travel to Gibeah and said they all could rest there. So the servants traveled as fast as they could to reach one of the nearest places where there were Israelites. When they reached there, they were really shocked to see that no one was willing to offer them anything, and they were not even allowing them to enter into their homes. It was night, and yet no one was willing to let them in. After seeing this, an old man approached them and asked them whether anyone let them in. But they replied that no one let them in. This was a complete shock to them, since all the Israelites valued hospitality. So they understood that something was definitely not right when the people avoided letting them into their homes. After hearing all this, the old man responded that they could come with him. The man became relieved, but also told that old man that they didn't want anything from him and said that they had enough food and water for their donkeys, and also for him, as well as for his partner. He also made it clear that they only needed a place to sleep for the night. They all stayed with the old man that night. They all were really comfortable until the wicked men of the city surrounded their house. They told the owner to bring the man who came to his house to have sex with him. Yes, no one expected something like this to happen just like you. Now you can understand what type of men came to that house at that time. The homeowner did not know what to do and begged them to not do something like this. The owner told them that he would bring the man's partner and his virgin daughter, but not the man. He also said that they can do whatever they want to do with them. What happens next will blow your mind. The man brings the man's partner and all of them do unwanted things and abuse her severely until the sun comes up. They only let her go in the dawn. The pain she suffered until that time is unexplainable. She collapsed right in front of her Lord after returning from this perverted man. The Lord did not even consider her situation. He opened the door and saw her lying down on the floor. But all he said to her was to stand up and start walking with him. But she was not responding to any of these. Then they finally understood that she was not alive. But that man, without feeling any sympathy towards her, took her and put her in the back of his donkey and took her home. The things that the man did to her next will make you cry. After reaching home, the man took a knife and cut his partner into 12 pieces limb by limb. Then he sent this throughout the city. The people who saw this said that they had never seen anything like this happen in their lives. He attached a letter to each piece of her body and sent this to the 12 different tribal groups of Israel. That letter contained every detail of what had happened to her. By reading the letter, they said that nothing like this had ever happened in history, and all this made them really shocked and speechless. There are many lessons that we need to learn from this shocking and disturbing story. First is that when we don't have any kind of accountability in our lives, we all tend to deviate. As we have already said, there were no kings in Israel at that time. All the people did whatever they wanted, and no one was there to make them accountable for the actions they did. No one will be there to make us responsible. When we don't have anyone to answer to, we all do the things that will come to our mind, even if that's right or wrong. This was exactly what happened in Israel at that time. Even though there was a law in the country, no one respected that law since it was not enforced effectively. Another lesson that we can understand and need to learn from this story is that we need to treat every human the same and not do anything to hurt them in any way. We need to see them as the bearers of the image of God. We can understand this from the scene where the owner of the house says that the wicked men can take their virgin daughter and the partner of the man, but not the man. So what made him think like that? Well, he might have thought that the lives of women are less valuable when compared to the lives of his and his guests. This mindset of the people of that time made them commit even more crimes. There are many people now who watch unwanted things online. They all know that they are doing something wrong, but yet they continue to do this. But if we see every woman as the bearer of the image of God, we won't have the same mind. We won't be interested in looking at any of those unwanted things anymore. Imagine that the girl you are watching is your daughter. Imagine all the things you do are done by a man by looking at your daughter. Things won't be the same, right? Think about this, guys. What I need to say next is very important. It is very crucial in every human's life to dedicate themselves to God. We all need to be spiritually attached to Him. If we do not value God, then all of us will become vulnerable and start doing every wrong thing that we never thought that we would do. If we take a look at the book of Judges, we can understand that it tells the story of the people who did not put any of their efforts into praying and appreciating God. They drifted away from their spiritual path. So now you know why the people did all this to the woman. Yes, they were really distant from the God. They drifted away, and there was no humanity left in them to show some empathy to that poor woman. The story did not end in that chapter. It continues and mentions that a civil war broke out between the tribal groups. Thousands of lives were lost in that war. Now it is your decision to think whether you need to follow the path that will eventually lead you to the God, or that path that will drift away you from the God. You will be able to achieve anything in this world if you maintain a close connection with God. I don't even want to say what will happen if you don't do this. The destiny of your life is in your hands, guys. You can decide your life. You can say that you won't do anything wrong by not maintaining a close connection with God. But soon enough you will realize that you were wrong and should have given more importance to God. You will become vulnerable each and every day if you are not praying to God and ignoring His presence. What do you guys think about this, guys? What do you think will happen if you drift away from the path of God? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to show us your love by giving us a thumbs up. For more similar content, make sure you subscribe to the channel.